Pokemon Sword and Shield's getting paid DLC that comes with 2 new stories and over 200 Pokemon that were missing from past generations, among other things. And for some reason, it really seems to split the Pokemon fan base, but is this DLC a scam, or is it actually fair? Well, if you ask my mustard ass, I think it's completely fair, and I have no idea why anyone's upset over it. Why is that, you ask? Well, sit back in your most comfortable YouTube viewing stool, pour yourself a tall glass of freshly tugged bull milk, press the subscribe button if you haven't already, and allow me, the world's most mediocre prune farmer, Cameron all one word, to tell you why Pokemon Sword and Shield's expansion passes aren't a scam in any way. Alright, so when I was watching the January 9th Pokemon Direct, I laughed my ass off at how they thought showing the year 2006 and not following up with Diamond and Pearl remakes wasn't gonna ruffle a few feathers. However, when they revealed the paid DLC, I had some pretty mixed feelings at first, mainly because the big selling point of the DLC was that older Pokemon would be part of the deal. But unlike a lot of the angry people though, I actually stuck around and paid attention when they said that you could get any of the returning Pokemon by trading with people who bought the DLC, or by transferring any of them over from Pokemon Home. So the idea that Game Freak's locking older Pokemon behind a paywall is pretty ridiculous, although they probably should have clarified that a lot sooner in the Direct. As far as the rest of the DLC is concerned though, I see quite a few people being angry over the fact that it's $30, but it's still way cheaper than releasing a third version of the game that's like 20% different like they've always done in the past. In fact, I'm pretty sure they mentioned the third versions of the games because they knew people were gonna get pissed at the idea of having to pay for an expansion, so the real question to me is, why are people getting so angry? I mean, yeah, Game Freak definitely botched it with Sword and Shield, don't get me wrong, but unlike the majority of other people complaining about it, I actually spoke with my wallet and didn't buy either version. I was never a dick to anybody who did buy the game, but I also realized that you can't complain about Sword and Shield, buy it anyway, and then act surprised when you get exactly what was advertised. I knew the game would still be pretty good, but I also knew that it could be way better, so my attitude wasn't rage or anything like that. It was just kinda like, meh, maybe next time, I got other games to play anyway. I was hoping that if more people had the same attitude, that Game Freak could learn from their mistakes and make things right the next time. But while I was pretty sure that most people would end up buying the game anyway, I was also pretty confident that Game Freak knows how many more people would have bought the game had there not been any controversies. And with over 200 legacy Pokemon returning in a free update a few months later, it looks like I was right to be optimistic. I mean, yeah, $30 is a bit steep, I guess, but like I said earlier, it's better than buying a third version of the game for $60 like Pokemon Gun or whatever and having to start all over from the beginning. A lot of people who are actively trying to be mad like to add the DLC cost for both games combined up just so they could say that the full game actually costs $180, but if you ask me, you guys are really reaching on this one, because buying a sequel would also cost $180, and it'd make you start all over from the beginning. And I mean, do you really need to buy the DLC for both games anyway? I know some people will, and that's great, but, like, the differences between the DLC on both versions aren't really that big of a deal to me. I mean, big whoop, you got a different rival, do you really need to play through it twice? One of the biggest complaints I hear from people who hate bought Sword and Shield is that they're only about 20 to 30 hours long, but that's about the same length as all the other games in the series, and honestly, that's a pretty good length for any game. So to say that the DLC is necessary for Sword and Shield to be a full game is just plain silly. Apparently the game feels so short because of the experience share that you can't turn off, and yeah, that is lame as hell that you don't have the option to turn it off, but if a game's only long because it forces you to grind so you can be strong enough to progress, then I consider that to be artificially inflating the game's playtime. Made sense to do this in the 90s when games can only be so big, but in the modern day, it's not something that should be forced, much like the experience share. Like I said, Game Freak definitely botched things, and I know there's just as many fans blindly defending Sword and Shield as there are blindly attacking them like certain competitive players who like to pretend that missing Pokemon actually balances the game better. But the whole point I'm trying to make though is let's not pick a side and defend it to the death, let's just look at the facts. What you're paying for the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra DLC is an extra adventure, not missing Pokemon. Those are going to be added in an update for free. You might not be able to catch these Pokemon for free, but there have always been plenty of Pokemon games in the past where you can only obtain certain Pokemon from buying an older game and transferring them over, so I don't really see how this is any different. I can't stress enough that Game Freak absolutely rushed Sword and Shield, and I don't think the initial outrage was just fans trying to be angry. But I really do think that Game Freak's honestly trying their best to make both games better, even though they really don't have to, since both versions already sold out the ass. And sure, the DLC's $30, but it's not going to sell as well as a third game would have, so if anything, Game Freak's consciously leaving money on the table to try to make things right. If I'm right, the National Dex thing won't be an issue in future games, since they're not going to be able to make the excuse of not having HD models again. But if I'm wrong, then the next games in the series are probably going to exclude certain Pokemon all over again for no reason, and if that happens, then I'll be right there in the front lines with the angry Pokemon mob. Until then, though, let's try to give Game Freak some wiggle room and be patient while they try to clean their mess up, rather than rub their noses in it while they're mopping. I mean, it's like being mad at your grandma for whooping your ass, and then she tries to make it up to you by bringing you a toy. It might not be the best toy of all time, but god damn it, she's sorry and wants to make things right. So you could either stay angry or move on, and I don't know about you, but that Happy Time Harry doll looks pretty badass. I will admit, though, it's pretty weird that the first 151 Pokemon weren't in Sword and Shield right off the bat since they were in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. But anyway, what'd you think about the Pokemon Direct? Are you excited for the expansion? Do you think people are just trying to be angry? Or do you think some of the outrage is actually justified? Either way, let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always, I'll try my goddamnedest to respond to everybody. But let me tell you, if there's two people who don't need DLC expansions because they're perfect the way they are, then it would definitely be today's patrons of the day, Aaron Ayala and the Vidya Bros. If you want to be badasses like these two, then consider supporting FU Game Crew on Patreon for loot boxes in the mail and other wacky rewards. And if you want to make a cameo, then send pictures or videos of you rocking any FU Game Crew merch like these legendary human beings you see before you. As always, like and share this video anywhere on the internet to help this channel grow. And if you want to prove that you're not down with registered sex offenders, then go ahead and press the subscribe button if you haven't already. My name's Cameron, all one word, and I'll be back with more videos soon.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.